First of all, apologies if the hair's looking a bit funny. I've been trying on my Hades wig for Friday. I'm excited. I'm going to become the Lord of the Underworld. When was the last time I saw you? When was the last time I saw you? Friday. I need to mention the fact the You Now show. I really enjoyed that, and from what I heard, you all did too, who came along. Got more people than I thought came along, so that was really cool. I enjoyed it so much. Let's do it again tonight. 8 o'clock. You, me. One thing I forgot to mention on both the stream and the video, if you become a fan, well, that's a horrible term, and it means you'll get notified anytime I go live. So just in case I don't announce it in a video, I'll tweet it, so make sure you're looking on Twitter, but You Now, just get your notifications on. Anyway, the video. Why is Aspergers disappearing? I think one thing to start with, is it disappearing? Well, yeah, obviously, that's why I'm talking about this, but not in the way as it initially sounds with the title, so let's get into this. I've just googled the history of Asperger's, and one of the suggested things was the history of asparagus. Made me laugh. The term Asperger's first came about in the 1940s, where someone was observing a group of people's behaviour and it was a bit not normal. These traits included the need for a routine, etc., all these things, and this was going alongside different studies that were related to autism. At some point down the line, they figured out, oh wait, actually, these two things, they're linked. There's a lot of behaviour traits that link up. It's just the people with Asperger's are better at social interaction, generally. The people with Asperger's were more able to function in everyday life and just to appear more normal. There's a lot of this today, whereas those with autism were not as able to function by themselves. And it's only really in the last decade where it's actually been acknowledged how the same they actually are. We've learnt it to be that it's actually the same condition. Hence, autistic spectrum disorder. That's what I was diagnosed. I was diagnosed with autistic spectrum disorder. People were then being diagnosed with autistic spectrum disorder, but given a specific condition. So Asperger's, that was given as a diagnosis, even though it came under the autism umbrella, and that was fine. And then the direction started to change only extremely recently, like I'm talking the last year or so. This new movement was to get rid of the term Asperger's, as it was all under autism anyway, so why give it? Instead, what doctors and psychiatrists wanted to do was give different labels. So give autistic spectrum disorder, but then say high functioning or low functioning. Low functioning being more classic autism and high functioning being Asperger's. And then there's other bits and bobs, but yeah. These labels are still used. I've got different thoughts on them now to when I was given my label of, well, I'm diagnosed with autistic spectrum disorder, and then kind of in brackets, he's high functioning. And I'm not happy with using the high functioning label as much now. I've done a whole video on labels before, which you can watch above here. And now, even these labels are being phased out. They're still used professionally, they're still accepted in community. Some people don't, some people do, it's fine. But Asperger's has disappeared in diagnosis. Some doctors even are still giving it, it's just been phased out mainstream, especially in the UK. You know, it might be going on in other places in the world, who knows, but it's definitely being phased out. This is where a problem's caused. Because it's being phased out, a lot of people are thinking Asperger's doesn't exist anymore. It does. If I'd been diagnosed like 2 years prior, I would have been diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. There's a lot of people out there that have the diagnosis of Asperger's. But there seems to be this thing where if you say Asperger's, people are like, but you can't really say that anymore. No, that's completely fine. In terms of a label being given, it's gone. But if you've already been given a label, you've been given that label for a reason. If you want to use the term Asperger's, why not? You were given it. It's almost like an honour. Well, you might have been diagnosed with Asperger's, then think, actually, I don't really want to use that anymore. I just want to use the term autism. I wasn't diagnosed with Asperger's. It says on my diagnosis letter, it says formerly Asperger's, so I kind of can use the term Asperger's. Other people do for me. The other week, we met a family. We were waiting to go into the Michael McIntyre Big Show, I've told you about this, and they were talking about how both their kids were autistic, and my mum was like, oh, Connor's autistic, like, and their response was, oh, to Asperger's then. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, it's just that's the kind of thing, that's how it works. People think high functioning Asperger's. But I like to just call my condition autistic spectrum disorder. If anyone who was diagnosed with Asperger's got re-diagnosed now, they wouldn't be given the Asperger's label, which is why I think a lot of people have a problem with it. At that time, that person was given a label that best suited, then up to that person to change it, socially to change it, but on the diagnosis letter, it's always going to say Asperger's. Therefore, don't argue with it. It might be in 50 years' time, it's a term that's never heard anymore, because of course, well, I say 50, like 100 years' time, once everyone's died out, the term might fizzle away. Autism might not be called autism anymore, who knows? Basically, what I'm trying to say is, it has disappeared on record, but it still exists. And that's fine that it still exists. If people want to get re-diagnosed, they can do, although it's a bit pointless. And if people do have a problem with the word Asperger's, that's a bit silly. In the comments down below, let me know, have you got any problems with the word Asperger's? Because I'd love to hear about it, because I don't really understand that viewpoint. Yes, I have asked this before, but again, just tell me what label you give yourself. Leave what you were diagnosed with, so autistic spectrum disorder for me, and then also what you refer to it as autistic spectrum disorder. Again, for me, mine's easy, although I just shorten it to autistic. You might have been diagnosed with Asperger's and just call it autistic. Let me know, please. So, stop having a go at people for referring to themselves as having Asperger's. Not necessary. People can refer to themselves as what they want to be referring to themselves as. So yes, it is disappearing from a professional perspective, but there's still people with that Asperger's label, and that's okay. Thank you very much for watching. Bye. Who am I going to see at the You Now show? I'm really looking forward to it. Remember to come along, let's have a chat. Yeah, see you in a bit.